Hi there guys, DCRS here, and today we'll be discussing some unique topic. Today we're covering Duel Links top decks. Now I haven't actually made a video in a while, sorry, I've been busy with schoolwork and stuff, and well, that kind of took most of my time and I haven't actually made any decks, so yeah, I do know what the meta is, ish, in a way. No, ish, no-ish the meta, I don't know. Basically, I know the meta in a way, but as a viewing standpoint, because I've done a bit of PvP, figure out what's good, what's not, and what's might be relevant. So, this is just a top 10 in no specific order. Basically, you can put the list in the way you want, the top deck to last least bottom deck. But this is the list from what I've placed. Most of my decks, so it doesn't really matter what the order is because you can adjust the way it is to the way you want it. So, what is the number 10 deck? Well, for me, the number 10 deck would be this specific deck in general, and that is Aliens. Now, Aliens have a unique factor in them because they're a free-to-play friendly deck, which they can be played pretty much. All you need is like commons, rares, anything like that. It's a really good PvP type of deck as well because you'll get a good amount of advantage through time, and aliens actually get better the more you play in the duel. I guess that's a good way to explain it. I don't know. Basically, aliens have pretty much back row related stuff. So one of the good things about aliens is that they can play a decent amount of back row, and also they have recurability, which you use like powerful rebirth and all those type of things that you bring back your monster, or you can use a card like this, for example, which pretty much covers the whole entire alien archetype. So ACell recombination device gives your opponent's monsters weaker attack, makes your opponent's monster get weaker, and also you get they get counters, and also you get a free monster next turn. So yeah, it's really good. This is what makes the deck. If they didn't have this, then the deck kind of is really slow. So this is the only card in the deck that actually makes the deck work. Also, they have their own back row removal, kind of like a beat stick factor. Also plays some more counters and stuff, and they also have a boss monster in a way. And also you get free draws as well. So that's one of the few things that aliens do have, and they also have spamability when used correctly. So yeah, that is my number 10 deck, so I'll put it here. That is my number 10. Number 9 for me would be, you won't like this, I know you probably won't like this, but it's something that has been popping up in the meta recently, and it's one of the few decks that can actually beat Sylvans, Spellbooks, Masters, depending on how fast you defeat them, and also Amazoness, surprisingly enough, because depending on how it works, well, it doesn't really have a good Amazon matchup, to be honest, but it has a good Sylvan and Spellbook matchup, which are the top 2 decks at the moment. So that's a little hint I'll be giving you. And yeah, so the next deck on my list is called, you probably know what it is by now, but you guessed it, it's a warm card, and that is Mill. Warmworm. And you know what that means, that you only see this in decks like Taya or Destiny Draw based Taya decks, or anything that requires milling in general, like Marek's Shadow Game skill. So Warmworm, or in this case Mill, is a very powerful deck. Not really powerful actually, more like annoying, because well, they have the power of beating decks that use a lot of resources, and also they have the power to beat Sylvans, which is very surprising, because Sylvans, the problem with Sylvans is they're a very aggro heavy deck, and the only way they can beat other decks is by beating them down with strong monsters and try and OTK your opponent as quickly as possible. So with Warm Worm and all those mill decks in general, mill is actually a very strong competitive deck for against Sylvans and potentially spellbooks, depending on how you use your cards to mill there. Basically, time it right, and you will pretty much mill out spellbooks because they will play a deck. If you're versing the 30 card engine, that's perfectly normal. They will probably mill out more faster cards than you. Because they search a lot. So Mill is a very, very interesting deck in regard to beating anything that uses a lot of resources. So in a moment we're more into a resource type of game, but yeah, Mill has a top spot in for top decks at the moment. Next deck, you probably knew what it is, considering it's a trap bait. It revolves around this trap card. It is called, yep, you guessed it by now. Oops, can't even spell it. Oh, because I can't even type it. Alright. It's called Sea Stealth Attack Deck, or a water deck. Wow, I can't even move it. Okay. So basically, Sea Stealth Attack has... Yeah, you pretty much guessed it by now. It's based... Well, the whole entire deck is water. It's based around Sea Stealth Attack. At the moment, it's not really that good against Sylvans. Well, actually, it might have a surviving chance against Sylvans, and also Amazon as well, but it has a really bad matchup against spellbooks because Fate does not target, and Sea Stealth Attack decks, or water decks in general, have a hard time beating the meta at the moment because they're very slow. I know that's what you think. They're actually... You probably think that they're pretty okay, but they're actually not. They're actually pretty slow. I've tested this quite a bit, and Sea Stealth Attack or water decks can't really keep up in the current meta at the moment because everything just OTKs. Master is just go Master Change, Anki, attack directly, play Chalice in the damage step, and you take 3200 direct. And also, if they have any kind of combo based cards, they can just attack you directly as well, so you just lose without standing a chance, because Sea Stealth Attack decks require you to battle your opponent's monsters. If they can't battle your opponent's monsters, you lose. That's pretty much it. Sea Stealth Attack has a major weakness, and that is if they don't verse monsters, they lose. That's why yeah, as I pointed out, it has a good Amazon's matchup. I'm not gonna lie, it has a pretty good Amazon's matchup. You should probably check out my Amazonas versus Sea Stealth Attack. I've beaten... Well, every time I go to PvP and I play this Sea Stealth Attack deck, when I verse Amazons, I just beat them all the time because they kind of get around Sea Stealth Attack, because this activates first rather than Onslaught, because Onslaught is at the end of the damage step. Sea Stealth Attack is at the start of the damage step. So yeah, big difference there. Start versus end. Which one will go first? Probably the one at the start. So yeah, and also it has ways to protect your cards. Next on the list is Archfiend. Archfiend has a really, really good matchup against most of the deck, most of the current meta. But the problem it actually has a good matchup against Sylvans as well. Spellbooks, it all depends on how you open up. If you open up great, you literally obliterate spellbooks. Against Amazons, considering Amazon has a weakness to control. Archfiends are actually a good matchup against Amazons, but depends on how you open up as well. The only problem with Archfiends is the biggest strength is also the biggest weakness. So it depends on how you mill and also how you set up your plays. Because Archfiends need to go turn 1, because if they don't do well during turn 1, well, they just have a hard time keeping up to the pace of the meta. But Archfiends is pretty much, I think in my opinion, it's a pretty good deck, but in a way it has some issues with Sea Stealth Attack, potentially Gigia, but it depends on how you open up, because Gigia is a back row based deck, and Sea Stealth and Archfiends, they can only handle so much at one time. But they are a good spam. It's like a control version of Sylvans, but better as in control, because you can do a bit more stuff, and you can also pop stuff relatively easy. And the best card in the deck is this card, Call of the Archfiend. So this is the reason why Archfiends are probably the best in their current state, and also Archfiend Emperor is also your boss monster, and also the card that can pretty much beat Sylvans, and any other thing that is currently meta in a way, because it relies heavily on Archfiend Emperor and Call of the Archfiend. But yeah, next on the list is... Now, Cyber Angels are very interesting because Dakinis, well, you can only play one Angel Ritual and one Dakini, or two of each, two of one specific card. But Dakini is pretty much the main heart of the of this deck. Main play of this deck. You basically just make Dakini and you just out OTK your opponent's deck. What's interesting about Cyber Angels is there's a lot of different variants of Cyber Angels. There's the back row hate version where they just get rid of the back row and they just OTK you, but it's pretty much an OTK based deck. It just does a lot of stuff. And they also have Saphira as well, but I think Saphira's been dropped. Not really dropped, but it hasn't really seen much of play. You do play Cyber Angels with Saphira. That's the only way they can get around certain stuff, but yeah, they just go either Dakini or Saphira first turn. Usually just go Saphira first turn, or they try to control your opponent's board by using Saphira first if they go turn 2. So they go Saphira first and then summon Cyber Angel Dakini, and then just wipe out your opponent's board and you pretty much OTK from then. But the problem with Cyber Angels is his back row. Cyber Angels hate back row because if you can get around, if you use the Dakini's effect and your opponent just enemy controls you, since enemy control is a pretty strong card at the moment. It's pretty much one of the most pretty much the staple card at the moment for quick play spells. And Cyber Angels pretty much lose to Econ if they activate the Dakini's effect, because all you have to do is Econ take their Dakini, and they lose the Dakini. And yeah, they pretty much can't OTK you during that turn. You have to wait. They have to wait 1 to 2 turns depending on how good their hand is to set up for next turn. But yeah, that's Cyber Angels for you. It's a one-trick pony. Well, I don't really know if it's one trick, but it's like they only do one thing, and that's just try and OTK you as quickly as they can. But they're very fragile in a way. But they have protection with their spell cards, like for example Machine Angel Ritual and the what is that card called? Hymn of Light. That's it. They use either Hymn of Light or Machine Angel Ritual just to protect your own monster. Anyway, on to the next next deck on the list. That would be Gear. Gear is probably one of the top 5 in my opinion, because Gear can do a lot against the current meta in a way, because they play back a lot of back row. They use their back row to counter the meta, and also they can, if you have Ties of Braren, you can pretty much secure your board in a way, because Cyber Angels cannot get around it. The only thing they can do is piercing, but if they have Econ set or anything that just reflects your attack right back at you, you pretty much won't be able to survive. So that's one of the few reasons why Giga is a very strong free-to-play deck, actually. And also their destruction-based effects do not target. Just keep that in mind. So it does not target destruction. So yeah, but their main weakness is that they're required to have a board presence of your other Giga monsters. You need at least 2 to activate the effect, because their effects state that they have to have another Giga monster to apply their destruction effects. So yeah, that's the only thing that's kind of dumb about it, but that's how Gigas worked in the TCG as well, and OCG, depending on where you played. But yeah, that's Gigas for you. They're a very back row heavy base deck, but depending on how expensive the back row cards is, or spell traps in general, they're relatively around mid free to play to high high pay to play type of deck. So yeah, keep that in mind if you're making Gigas. It can be cheap, but depends on what back row you use for your deck. So yeah, that's Gigas for you. On to the next list. This is number 4, and this is Masked Heroes. or in this case, Destiny Heroes. Destiny Heroes in particular, or Masked Heroes, Anki, is a literal win condition for Masked Heroes. And Destiny Heroes, depending on which one you use. But yeah, Heroes are a top contender because they can actually OTK you out of nowhere, depending if they open up 2 or more mask changes. Because all you have to do is go Anki and attack directly, and if you just go Chalice during the damage step, and your opponent takes damage, or you destroy your opponent's monster, grab another mask change, use it on Anki, and attack your opponent's life points directly if it's turn 2, depending on when, or depending on which turn it is. Which turn, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much how they play. And they get more advantage later on. So if you want to defeat Masked Heroes, defeat them ASAP, because the longer the duel goes, the more resources they'll get, and the heroes rely on their resources to actually win. That's some interesting advice for you if you don't know about it. Alright, number 3 on the list would be Amazonas. Now, you probably know this by now with Amazonas Queen. If it's a level up reward from Mai, but sadly, people who don't have level 45 Mai yet can only get the princess, because that was from a free-to-play event, and also actually Mai event, but as an ongoing what's it called? Ongoing tickets. So if you sign up, preferably I think it was May 10th, you get ultra rare tickets and stuff. You can actually get princess relatively quickly. And yeah, let me double check when you get prince, how many tickets you get. I just want to double check real quick. You get around 2 ultra rare tickets, but there's 1 ultra rare ticket that's from the booster boxes from series 1 to 9, from number 1 to number 9. But yeah, you can get pretty much 2 Amazon's Princess straight off the bat. But you can also get the 3rd Amazon's Princess, either from the Mai event, or if you don't have it yet, you can try and get 100 wins, or yeah, 100 wins in PvP, and you can get Amazon's Princess. I think that's how it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how you get Amazon's Princess from now, since you've missed the event. But yeah, that's how you get Amazon's Princess. Actually, let me check how you can obtain it now. You can't obtain it anymore, but you can get it via tickets and stuff. Okay. But yeah, that's that's Amazonas for you. That's pretty much that. Let me add it to the list. But yeah, the deck heavily relies on Amazon's Princess, because it's your main searcher for Onslaught, and also it helps you get dump useless cards. Well, more cards are set up later early on. So what I do is I use Amazon's Princess to dump either a baby tiger or a swordswoman early on in the duel, to get to later use it for what's it called? No, not that one. Onslaught. So you pretty much, if Onslaught gets destroyed, you can just bring back your Amazonas that's already in the grave. So yeah, it's really, really good. So that's what Amazonas Princess is for. It's the main card of this deck, and that's why it's an ultra rare. So yeah. Next deck on the list, I should say, is Spellbooks. Spellbooks is one of the top decks at the moment. Spellbooks have very, very strong competitive play, as all they have to do is set up their board, try and not lose ASAP, and yeah, play Fate. So all you do is go Magician of Prophecy, Spell Magician of Prophecy, grab your secrets, then add your Master, reveal for Master since you have a Spellbook monster on your field, and then add Fate. You pretty much have two spell cards in the grave, Secrets and Master, and early on, if you played Crescent or Power, later on, you can actually play Power last, or depending on whatever you have left in your hand, and you have free spell cards for you to activate Fate. Fates are very, very annoying in the TCG and also in Duel Links, because Fate was actually limited to 1 in the TCG, and surprisingly enough, it's now pretty much a pain in the Duel Links as well. But the good thing about Duel Links is we can adapt to spellbooks, and there are actually more ways, well, there are actually plenty of ways to get around Fate at the same time. So you pretty much bait out Fate as quickly as you can before you go into your aggro-based plays. So spellbooks are pretty strong in the meta. It's probably one of the top 3 decks, and yeah, spellbooks are a very, very strong deck in particular. The only problem is they're slow, like a certain deck that I'm about to explain for number 1 on this list, but the list doesn't really matter. It could be from 1 to 10 in any order you want, depending. So yeah. But yeah, spellbooks are, it's pretty much a helmet-based deck. So what I mean by helmet is they do the same thing every single turn. No matter what you do, you always go Prophecy, then you go Secrets, then you go Master, and then you go Fate, depending on how many you have in your grave. It's very graveyard resource intensive, and also you keep an Eternity in the grave because you use Master to copy Eternity to banish. So you use Fate if you have a second Fate in your hand. So you banish the first Fate in the graveyard, and then you use Fate that you currently use and banish whatever, and then you go Master to reveal and copy Eternity and grab the Fate back from your banished area to your hand. So it's an ongoing loop over and over again, which is very annoying, and it's how spellbooks keep their presence on the field. And they pretty much try and out-resource you in the long run, so they're a very grindy deck, and the longer they play, the more resources they will get. So if you want to beat, like all decks in particular, if you want to beat them as quickly as possible, if you want to beat the deck, beat them as early as possible, because if you're versing spellbooks, Fate is their most dangerous weapon, and if you're versing what's the name, Amazonas, you get rid of their back row base card, which is the Onslaught, ASAP, and also getting rid of the monsters ASAP, because Onslaught, the only trouble with Onslaught is they have a way to use them during the battle phase, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, that's probably why spellbooks are number 2 on this list, because they can outgrind Amazonas in a way, but at the same time, it depends on who opens up better first. And if you're versing a 30 card spellbook deck, well, let's just say they're going to have more resources than you in the long run, depending if they didn't mill all their Fates. Anyway, number 1 on this list is, you probably noticed by now since I haven't got it, and I've mentioned it a few times, it is, if I can spell it, Sylvans. Now the main play is set Komushumo and pass. That's literally how they play. So they go Kumashumo, or they set their Rose Lover, and then they pretty much, well, it's one of the above. It's either Komushumo or it's going to be Rose Lover. But they can also set a bluff and play Caraway Champion just to get in the grave ASAP. So they just do all this stuff where they do turn 1 or turn 2, depending on how well they opened up. If they brick, they brick. If they mill godly with Kumo-Shurimo, then you're pretty much screwed during turn 2. Because the deck likes to go very aggro in turn 2, and it's probably one of the reasons why it's Spellbook's worst nightmare. But, in a way, Spellbooks have a decent matchup against Sylvans. So it's in between. Spellbooks and Sylvans are neck and neck for first place. But that's my opinion of the deck, and of these decks, top 10 decks. So now you know what it is, you can actually go start and build whatever you want. This is my top 10 decks for Duel Links for this current meta. Until we get a new box, we don't know what's going to change for that. So yeah, this is DCRS. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. This list is not in any specific order, I'm just explaining the top 10 decks in general, that what you might see in PvP when you hit Legend, or before Legend. and maybe King Games as well, depending if you can reach King Games in time. Because yeah, these 10 decks are very, very annoying, and you probably find them at least once. So yeah, this is DCRS here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Signing out. Bye.